In the summer of 1947, a British lawyer named Cyril Radcliffe was handed a staggering assignment: draw a border dividing 380 million people. He was given just a few weeks to do it, despite never having set foot in India. By 1946, the British Empire was bankrupt from World War II and losing its grip on the subcontinent. The colonial government was facing severe military uprisings, including a massive revolt by Indian sailors in the Royal Navy. Independence was now a certainty, but the impending exit created a dangerous power vacuum. There was no agreement on who would actually take over the government. Without a clear, unified transition plan, the countdown to liberation threatened to turn into a massive sectarian conflict. On one side sat the Indian National Congress, led by figures like Jawaharlal Nehru. They demanded a secular, united India governed by a strong central authority. The opposing force was the Muslim League, commanded by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Jinnah championed the two-nation theory, a non-negotiable agenda demanding an entirely independent Muslim state called Pakistan. These mutually exclusive visions created a total political deadlock, a choice between one united country or two divided ones. In May 1946, the British proposed a complex compromise known as the Cabinet Mission Plan. It sought to keep India united by dividing its provinces into three groups. This gave Muslim-majority areas sweeping autonomy while keeping them under a single shared flag. Jinnah actually accepted this plan. He calculated that the concentrated autonomy given to these groups would serve as a practical stepping stone toward an eventual Pakistan later on. The Congress Party also tentatively agreed to the framework, hoping to avoid a total political collapse. For a brief, fragile moment in 1946, a peaceful, united transfer of power was officially on the table. That compromise shattered in July 1946. Jawaharlal Nehru gave a press conference, asserting that once Congress took power, they were free to change or even scrap the provincial grouping system. Congress was driven by a deep-seated fear. They believed a weak central government would eventually cause the entire country to fracture. Jinnah felt entirely betrayed. He feared that without the grouping system, Muslims would face permanent domination by the Hindu majority. He was also hiding a desperate personal secret. Jinnah was secretly battling fatal tuberculosis and knew he had less than a year to live, leaving him no time for the long-term political maneuvering the compromise required. That single press conference destroyed the trust required for the last viable diplomatic solution, permanently sealing the deadlock. Jinnah pivoted to a drastic ultimatum, declaring that India would be divided or destroyed. He called for a direct action day in August 1946 to force the issue. What began as a political strike erupted into the Great Calcutta Killings. The city was consumed by massive communal riots that left thousands dead. The scale of the bloodshed convinced the British that a united India was no longer manageable. Faced with uncontrollable violence, the British administration fell into a state of panic. They sent Lord Mountbatten with a single mission: abandon the territory as quickly as possible. Mountbatten abruptly moved the independent state up from June 1948 to August 1947. He removed 10 months of crucial planning time with the stroke of a pen. This rushed timeline guaranteed that the partition would be chaotic, ill-planned, and violently executed. The partition became an exercise in bureaucratic absurdity. Administrators split every shared asset down the middle, including military regiments, the national debt, the civil service, and even individual office typewriters. The human cost was devastating. As the new borders were enforced, up to 2 million people were killed, and millions more were displaced in the largest mass migration in history. Independence was achieved, but it was celebrated in a nation that had been physically severed. The 1947 partition was the ultimate tragedy of political uncompromising. The rigid ambitions and miscalculations of a few leaders in closed rooms ultimately